Go.
I want to thank Steve Ruth for this invitation this morning to speak with you about doing the hard work of lobbying for justice in Virginia. It's a real challenge. And thanks for the chance to this morning to share our SALT mission and our SALT story. SALT is a grassroots group, of course, whose focus is on educating, advocating, supporting programs that help to lift those who are poor and the most vulnerable, in particular, those who are left out of the policy, are kept from the policy decision-making table that the rest of us enjoy. We subscribe to Margaret Mead. We call ourselves Mead groupies because she subscribed to the idea that every significant change that occurred has started with a small group. And of course, that's how SALT started. We kind of subscribe to Helen Keller, who says, alone we can do little, but together we can do much. We have learned that from experience. It made the difference in our successes. And of course, if I had between my thumb and my forefinger a wooden match, I could squeeze down and break it. But if I had several matches, and I squeezed, I would not be able to. And the same goes for if one person speaks, they're alone. They're alone, and it's easy for the legislators to ignore them. And of course, what we're talking about here is if there's more voices together, then we can do much more. And so SALT understands that charity and direct service are critical, but they are incomplete without also providing advocacy for the most vulnerable. Motivating our advocacy is our belief that faith and action are linking together. What good is our faith if we don't act on it? In the words of late Pope John Paul II, our efforts to serve the poor and vulnerable must be accomplished by concrete efforts to address the causes of human suffering and injustice. So the work of SALT has accomplished since its inception is pretty remarkable. We started out with a gang of only 8 people, and over the years we have grown to 1,300. We learned early that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. SALT's advocacy, perseverance, and dedication continues to make a difference in the lives of the less fortunate. So today I'd like to share just how SALT came into being and some lessons learned. We started we decided to testify before the Northern Virginia delegation. We learned that they have an off to Richmond hearing, and we expected maybe 3 or 4 legislators, and there were more like 25. They didn't listen to us. They had side conversations. I was nervous, and I thought that really bombed. This was like an empty care package. But about 2 weeks later, the phone rang and the voice said, John, why is Virginia so stingy? How can these families exist? How can they survive? I said, who is this? And she said, oh, I'm Dorothy McDermott. I'm the chairman of the Appropriations Committee. And she said, I just learned in this hour, I just now learned that the governor's going to put some more money on the table because the revenues are running stronger than expected. And I am determined to use this for the families that you testified about. She said, it's going to be a hard fight, she said, because he's not going to listen. But she said, I'm determined to win, and she did. So never, never underestimate what using your voice can do. Similarly, we learned that the Virginia was creaming the food stamp program. They were taking off through their sales tax, were scraping $8.5 million in food aid into the general fund instead of to the families. We worked with the legislators for 3 years, and they all professed to say this was immoral, wrong, awful, but never did anything about it. So we called Senator Kennedy's office at the federal level. And after one call, Senator Kennedy informed us that he learned that 18 other states were doing this, and he stopped all 19 states. So sometimes when you try to get people to listen to you and to act and they don't, you go to another level. We went to the federal level and took care of it with great success. 19 states at about $10 million each would be $190 million increase every year since the early 90s when we learned this. So I just want to share one more quickly. We learned that the Department of Corrections was shackling women when they were in labor. And our bill was killed in the subcommittee by a small group of Republicans. So I said to my patron, Patrick Hope, what the hell are we going to do next year? They'll just kill it again. And he said, well, let's go talk to the the director of the Department of Corrections. He claimed he didn't know this was going on, that he was new. He said, consider it stopped. He said, we'll draft regulations with you and take them to the prison policy board. Well, we never heard of that, and we didn't know it was an option. We didn't know it existed. They passed it unanimously, and to this day, women are no longer shackled. So lessons learned. Change will not happen if we wait for someone else or for some other time. Empowerment occurs through our advocacy, being a citizen voice for families. You are powerful people, even every one of you. You know it because your words are very powerful and you have a voice like we did. We just went to legislators and we got things done that were important to us. So you have a voice and you have the power to change people's lives. That's most important. And it's important when you approach the legislator that you speak from your heart. He has to know that you have a passion for this, and this is something that's important to you, or he's not going to take you serious. We speak for everybody. The reason we value everybody is because of our faith. Just doing the best we could is how we started out. It has always worked for us. It's worked for SALT. And it's worked with good results. What we do is advocacy, and our advocacy for us is just plain old democracy. Reminder, when you approach the legislator, know what you're talking about, have a passion for it. Do not be intimidated. Legislators put their pants on one leg at a time, just like we do. We have citizen legislators in Virginia. We're very fortunate because they don't have staff to do the background work and to research the issue. So you can come in with a fact sheet, and the legislator will be forever appreciative. It'll help him to understand the issue, and he can use the fact sheet to have the legislation drawn up. One thing to make a case for for our advocacy is a quote, a direct quote from a legislator. He says, when we're dealing with something that affects rich people, you can't get into the committee room. But when we're talking about poor folks, the room is empty, and we've experienced that again and again. So you need to be there. Now with the COVID, you can testify virtually. And it's important that you not be intimidated and that you follow up. When the legislator agrees with you, follow up, and you ask him to put in a bill, and then you follow up and ask, what is the bill number? Have you filed the bill? And you stay in touch with him with questions like, well, do you need any more information? And if you don't know the answer, don't lie. Say, I don't know the answer, I will find out. So educate first, keep it on the legislator's radar screen. And otherwise, if you give him a good idea and then you never come back, he'll say it's not important to you. And it will be a gift to him because he can say he supports it, but he doesn't have to do anything. So please don't let him get away with that. So the most important message then to remember that change will not happen if we wait for someone else or some other time. Thank you for the opportunity.